This is day 1 in a new kingdom. Even though it doesn't look like it now, this account is soon going to be able to eat solo marches from the biggest players. Today I'll be showing you how to build it. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video on building a trap account from scratch in a restricted kingdom. In my previous videos I've gone through all the important things like gear and troops and research, and initially this was going to be the last video that was going to cover basically everything else. But something happened. Without going into too much detail, basically whilst getting a new phone I managed to lock myself out of my 250 million baby rally trap account, and I haven't been able to get back in since. It was a real shame because I was part of a really great guild. I was having a lot of fun in that kingdom, and I was in the process of upgrading what had been a really successful solo trap into a pretty effective rally trap. But as if by coincidence, a few players from the guild where I've got my main rally trap account actually thought it would be quite a fun idea to start new accounts in a brand new kingdom. So even though I had no intention on making another Lord's mobile account, I did think this would be quite a good way to put all the tips and rules from the first 2 videos into practice and to document it as I went. Now the first thing to say about this account is that I'm going to be spending very little money on it. You know, I've themed this video as a free-to-play video. However, you will see that I invested a little bit right at the beginning, which is the time when you should, and I'll come to that later. But you know, part of the reason for me doing this was to prove that there is still a viable free-to-play or cheap-to-play option in this game. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can be ready to trap in a brand new kingdom in just a week. But to do so, I would say you need to follow 4 rules. Rule number 1 is be fast. This isn't rocket science. In the first 7 days, the players who get strongest the quickest are going to have a huge advantage, and you want to be one of those players. Rule number 2 is be efficient. What I mean by this is to not waste any brave hearts or any quests or even any monster hunts, and once you've got to Castle 16, to make these hell events count, because you can get some amazing rewards if you rank highly in those. Rule number 3 is to invest your time, not necessarily your money. It has to be said, putting in the hours in these early days really pays off. And rule number 4 is, as much as possible, to try and think long term. So don't be wasting your materials on bits of gear for construction or research, because you'll probably need them for your war gear. And don't do any research or claim too many quests that give you unnecessary might this early on in the game. So with those 4 rules in place, you've kind of got a bit of an ethos to go ahead and start making a really powerful but really low might solo trap. Stage 1. This mainly covers days 1 and 2. You want to be upgrading your buildings and research fast. At this early stage of the game, when the helps are flying in, when you are upgrading nice and quickly, you want to get as far as you can, as fast as you can. What is a really good idea is to try and get your VIP as high as possible as well. It just really helps in these early stages. As I said, if you are going to invest a bit of money, that would be the thing to do. Get a couple of packs that maybe get you a few VIP points. That would be nice. Getting up to something like VIP 7 also gives you an XP boost of 28%, and that is really when you should be claiming any quests. Don't do it before VIP 7. What you want to be doing in this time is just upgrading whatever buildings allow you to be progressing through the castle stages until you get to Castle 16. So you're always going to be upgrading your academy, you're always going to be upgrading your wall and things like that, but don't be upgrading things like your watchtower, even your embassy or whatever, until you get to Castle 16 and you're able to get more helps and you're already at quite an advanced stage. Now, let's talk about these events. So, starting with the Allied Voyage. This is such an easy event to do. The rewards are really good for what are easily achievable tasks. They give you speed ups, resources, and even gear. If you are spending a lot of time on this game during these first days, you should be able to crack through this, if not within 24 hours, then certainly within 48 hours. And a really good tip from this is that you do get a couple of bits of gear, and even though they're not that great, they are gold. So when you don't really need them anymore, I would really recommend dismantling these, and so you give yourself a good chance to get something like platinum or vines or minerals, which is certainly going to help you with your war gear. Also at this time, you've got the adventure log. Cracking through all of those quests gives you things like material boxes. I think it gives you a ton of XP, but eventually they also give you hero medals for people like Oathkeeper and Snow Queen, who you are going to want on your wall. I will come to this Athena's Ace event a little bit later on, but certainly in the first 2 days it is worth keeping an eye on, because when you're progressing in your building and your research and even your troop training, you can be collecting the rewards that they give you, and that will make you progress a lot quicker without having to spend money. That brings us on to stage 2. So this is probably for days 3 to 5, and you should be approaching the end of your building. So basically getting yourself to Castle 16 and then stopping. Like, when I say stopping, I mean not upgrading any further than that. You want to get your academy to Castle 16 for sure, but apart from that, you then want to be concentrating on manners. You want to get as many manners as possible up to at least level 12, and they will make a big difference to your troop training percentage when you come to get your troops together. Do make sure you've completed all the military research that you can. What you want to do, if you're doing this the way I do it, is to concentrate on having an infantry front line. That means you do unlock infantry defense to get to infantry HP, but you do not do that for cavalry or range. Just leave them. Just concentrate on cavalry and ranged attack, and that is that. And don't even touch siege. Do a little bit of the monster hunting so you can hunt level 2 monsters, but apart from that, don't touch anything. Even little bits of extra might at this stage really make a difference. So yeah, be careful. And yeah, you should be hitting things like Colosseum, the adventure log, and the trial by fire really hard every day. Getting on them as quickly as possible is a good thing. Obviously with the Colosseum, you will get a lot of gems in return, so that is something to consider spending your gems on. But I would say apart from that, you should be saving all of your gems and all of your speed ups for the troop training, which you're going to do in days 6 and 7, which I will come to now. So this is stage 3. These are the last couple of days of your build, and this is essentially when you become a trap. You want to get your war gear crafted. You want to make sure the heroes on your wall are at least at rank 4, if not all the way up to rank 7. But at rank 4, you will be able to get Oathkeeper and Demon Slayer. You'll be able to unlock their infantry HP. Obviously that really helps. And you want to level them up as high as you can. You can probably get Oathkeeper to green, if not blue, at this point. Let's properly go into this Athena's Ace event. So as I say, it gives you really good rewards as you're completing the stages in every single tier. The ones I'd concentrate on are obviously the troop training ones, but after you've finished like the building and the research, you're probably not going to be hitting those ones too much, but you will hopefully be quite high on the hero stages, which is something that you really want to be placing in the top 3 for. That was a very, very, very helpful thing to focus on at this stage. And certainly with the troop training, that is the one to be hitting extremely hard in these last 2 days. Try and time them with hell events and get, I would say, 200k infantry tier 2 and maybe 300k T1 range, and that already is a decent comp. If you've unlocked T2 range and cav, which you should have done, then I would bolster up with a little bit more of that. And when you've got, I would say, around about 600,000 troops, with the kingdom being only a week old, you should be able to eat any march that's being sent at you. Unless some guys are spending ridiculous amounts and they've already unlocked T3 and are on way to T4. Obviously be careful, but at this stage, at the fun stage, when people don't really know what they're doing, you can be the guy who benefits on noob players looking at your Castle 16 and thinking it's worth a go. Now, just to say, what I did here was, I think I got a little bit carried away with the Athena's Ace troop training event, and I decided to upgrade to Castle 17 so that I could, well, essentially so it was easier for me to score higher and be unlocking infantry tier 3 and basically having that as my front line. Now, that made me very powerful, but it raised my might, I think, quite a bit higher than I wanted it to. I got to 10 million quite quickly, and you don't need to do that. So yeah, I would say if I was to do this all again, I think I would have stuck to Castle 16. Be small, look unintimidating, and you will eat march after march from people who don't know what they're doing. And that is basically it. You should be at around about the 5 to 7 million might mark, I would say. That sounds pretty healthy to me. So that's pretty much that for the 7-day build. And yeah, it was a very fun experience for me because, without sounding big-headed, it did kind of prove the validity of the way I go about setting up solo accounts. I did spend a lot of time on it. It was over the Christmas period, so I had time available. And at the end of the 7 days, I had a solo trap that was good to go. And you can then basically grow at the rate of the kingdom. When the biggest kingdom players are getting more powerful, then you upgrade to Castle 17 and get yourself a tier 3 infantry front line. And you'll be able to do all this, as I say, without investing. Maybe being free to play, it might take a couple of days longer to get to this stage. But honestly, with all of these events, if you do them in the right way, IGG give you everything you need to create a great trap account from a very, very early stage. So I'd be really interested to know how you get on with this. Please let me know if this has been helpful, and if you've managed to do something like this yourself. I will post an update of how this solo trap is doing now in the next couple of weeks. But until then, goodbye.